Hello everyone, I am Akabane101 and this is a tutorial video for those that have pretty much never played an MMORPG before. And what MMORPG stands for is Massively Multiplayer Online Role-Playing Game. What does that mean? It means a hell of a lot of people are playing this game at once in different servers. So you just got the game, you watched the opening cinematic, you're like, what the heck do I do now? Well, what you need to do first is select a server. This is before you choose if you're going to be part of the good or dark side. Actually, that's even a deeper depth of what we're going to be going into, but in this tutorial series, we're going to explain everything that you need to know to get started, and even some of those people that are interested in playing this game, stay tuned, check it out, see what you think of the game and how it plays out. It's a lot like World of Warcraft if you ever played that before, but mainly this is for those people that are having a little bit of difficulty getting started into the game, or people that really want to learn what the game is all about. Okay, so you're getting into this screen right here, and it says select server. It even says that at the top. You have some of these buttons at the bottom left here, and you generally do want to go here first, but we're going to get all of that done a little bit later. First thing we want to do is just make sure you can actually pick a server, get your character started, check out the character creation, everything like that. We'll worry about graphical preferences and everything like that in a small little bit, but that'll also be part of this video near the end. Okay, so we're going to select a server, and what you're going to be looking at here is a server name, and as it implies, the name is right here. Now, on the left side is guild. You won't have to worry about this if you're just starting the game. Guild is if you've already signed up for a guild and you're trying to find a server that has that guild on it. So this is all related to if you have a guild on the website before the game actually launched, or if you're just worried about one of the guilds that you already joined in. For now, I actually don't have any guilds that I'm signed up on the website, and I'm just in-game, so you don't actually have to even worry about this at all. I generally say don't worry about guilds unless you were deeply into the guilds on the website for SWTOR. And SWTOR stands for Star Wars The Old Republic, if you haven't heard of that yet. There's characters, and this implies how many characters you have on each server. So on the Shadowlands, I have 6 characters, and on Darth Sion, I have 1. I believe I used that for a tutorial at some point, and I deleted it because I didn't feel it was good. Now, the server type. This is going to play into how you want to play your game with other people. And other people will mainly abide to how this server type is. So what does PvE mean? Well, PvE stands for PvE means player versus environment. So generally, you won't be against other players. All players will generally work together to face the foes, or mainly a lot of people will play solo and play against every monster in the game as well. But you can party up. You don't have to worry about anyone team killing you outside the world. And team killing, or sorry, not team killing, player killing. We call them PKs. It's where another player comes to meet you outside of town and just kills you. It just flat out kills you. It's generally better to not go into a PvP server, which we'll get on in just a moment. So that's PvE servers, one of the safest servers to go on to when you're a new player. Now there's also RP servers, and you may already get that from the role RPG element of MMORPG. It means role-playing servers. So obviously this is a role-playing game, but being in a role-playing server, you are the character that you're playing. You're not a person that's just sitting there at home saying, hey, how's it going? I'm having a cup of coffee. No, you're playing that character. So if you're a Jedi, you're acting as if you are a Jedi and you're in that world. You're not in real life when you're playing the game, basically. You are that character that you've created. So if you're into that kind of stuff, if you're into like say, I don't know, cosplay or something like that, you just like being a different character, that's the kind of thing you want to go into if you're into that sort of stuff. Then there's PvP. So PvP is player versus player, so that is player killers will be out there in the world and they can kill you. Say you're on the Republic side, which is like, say, the good side, and the Sith Empire. Well, say you're on the Republic, you're doing your thing, a Sith Empire guy comes by and he can kill you, or you can kill him. It's generally that. It's no holds barred. You know, you can just attack at any random moment, but PvE is still in there. You're still going to be able to fight monsters. It's just adding that extra element into the game with those, you know, the enemy being able to be an actual enemy at almost any point in given time. Now, you are going to be safe in the starting zones, like from level 1 to 10. Until you leave that starting zone, though, then you'll get into that PvP. But more on that later, of course. And then last but not least is the RP-PvP, and if you were paying attention to what I was just saying before, it's a role-playing server, so you are that character specifically, but it is in a PvP environment, so you can still play or kill and everything like that if you're into that sort of thing. So, next thing to that is the location. So this is all West Coast stuff. I'm in the East Coast, so I should be picking East Coast generally. And yeah, so Shadowlands I picked was East Coast. That's actually a good thing. And this will actually be based on your connection. So this is all North American contents and stuff like that. So you'll be generally picking the one that you think is best for you. Or if you have friends on certain servers, ask them the server name and go join that one. But mainly, all I see here is East Coast and West Coast. If you're in a European server or a Japanese server or whatever servers they have, the location will vary. But generally, you don't have to worry about the location too much. If you join a server and it's too laggy, just go ahead and switch the server. It doesn't take long to get to level 10 anyway. Just test out servers when you're going to be checking that stuff out. And last but not least is population. And if you haven't guessed already, these very heavy and heavy are the density of how many people are playing on that server at once. And generally, if you're a newer player, it is a good idea to join actually servers with lots of people on them in like a PvE server, because the general chat is generally very helpful, and I recommend going to the Shadowlands if you'd like. But if you don't want to worry about a huge density of people, you just want a little amount of people, go ahead and click on the population of standard or heavy. That's generally not too many people. I don't think there's anyone here that is a light, because I think it's over 1 million people are already registered into this game and ready to play it. So definitely, it's already a huge success for Star Wars. So for the sake of it, since I already have characters on these, I'm actually just going to click on, I don't know, Druga's Pleasure Barg. Hey, how about that? So I clicked on that. Now what do I do? Well, actually there's another thing I need to tell you guys about, is that there's a North America and Europe choice. So you can actually click on the European thing, or you can click on North America. So actually, if you want to play with your European friends that have European servers, you have to choose Europe. So that's if say your European friend said, I'm on Tassa Barish. Well, I don't see any of that in North America, but you want to click on Europe here just to make sure. Also, if you have any more questions about PvE, PvP, and everything, it's all down here. It explains everything for you if you're curious as to what it's all about. I'm just here to vocally explain it all to you. So yeah, we're going to click on here. And this little thing on the bottom right here, I guess I'm going to go to Pearly Mian Trade Route, whatever. I'm going to click on Select, and it'll select a server for me, or you can just double click. I'm going to click Select for the sake of the tutorial. It'll say logging into the selected server. It's going to take a little moment just to make sure that you're loaded and everything. And then you're going to get a choice of picking the Republic, and my screen just went black for a moment there, so excuse me if I can't see exactly what's going on. I don't know what goes on with that. Hopefully Fraps is okay. Anyway, okay, so you're going to get two choices here. You can join the Galactic Republic, which is, if you ever watched the Star Wars movies, I'm generally thinking that a lot of you who have not played an MMO before but are interested in this, are interested in the aspect of BioWare's idea of making a Star Wars game. And it is heavily based off of how the movies portray each class, like Jedi. It's a lot based off how the movies portrayed a Jedi. But obviously the story is completely different, because this takes place, what was it, like 3,000 years before? I think it was either 3,000 years or 30,000 years. I think it was just 3,000 though, if I'm correct. Before the movies took place, before the rise of Darth Vader. But anyway, the Galactic Republic, if you ever watched the movies, the Republic was those guys that got the clone troopers and all that jazz. So this is before they got broken up and split apart in episode 4, 5, and 6, where Darth Vader basically took control of the clone troopers and named them stormtroopers. So this is 3,000 years before that. You don't have to worry about the Sith taking over the clone troopers, because they didn't exist yet, obviously. So yeah, this is basically the Galactic Republic, when all the planets were actually together on a basis of the good side. As you can see, it's blue. Generally, that is the good side. And then, of course, there's the Sith Empire, still portrayed as how the movies portrayed it. They do have one specific race that we'll touch on later that is not based off any character in the movies at all. But Yeah, if you're like you get a Sith warrior, which is basically the opposite of a Jedi, and still based off the movies. A Sith warrior will follow kind of the path until they're a Darth, whatever your name is in the game. So, say you want to be like Darth Vader, you can be a Sith warrior. Or if you want to be able to use Force lightning, you can be like a Sith Inquisitor, and both sides generally have the same kind of Jedi, and then they kind of split off of the light side, or sorry, the Republic. I'm not going to refer them as light side or dark side because that's actually a different depth into the game. I don't want to touch on that just yet, just because you guys are just starting out and you're trying to learn what you want to do for the character creation. So depending on what side you pick will depend on if you're, say you have a friend, if your friend's playing on the dark side, you'll want to pick the dark side if you want to play with them. Otherwise, you'll be against them on the other side. So that's also going to be a thing that's going to factor in as to what side you're going to play as. So say you're like, oh, well, I just want to play, I want to be like Luke Skywalker, you know? So then you're going to want to pick the Galactic Republic. So that's what you're going to want to pick for generally the lighter side of things. And so you're going to be brought up to this screen as I start to lose words here. And you're going to be like, well, what's exactly going on? Why is it selected on this guy? Who is he? Can I, why am I clicking on these characters? Maybe nothing's working. Don't worry about that, okay? So what you're going to want to do is you want to do a lot of reading pretty much here just to learn what you want to get into when you're playing the game. Because I don't think I have enough time to really explain all the classes, but I'll touch on every single one briefly here. This is all going to be character creation anyway. In the next tutorial, I'll cover, I don't know, maybe Jedi or something. Leave it in the comments on who you want me to cover first. Okay, so we'll click on the Jedi Knight. If you hover over one of these 4 squares here at the bottom, you'll be able to select what kind of class you're going to be picking, not the race. You pick your class before the race, and then you're given the choice of the race. So, yeah. I don't know if that really makes sense at all. All I'm saying is you need to pick the class first, and then you get to pick your race. So this is the Jedi Knight. Now, you may be wondering, well, what do I do when I pick this class, right? What will the Jedi Knight offer me, and what would it give me a reason to do to pick this class? So what you're going to want to do is read this little dialogue up here. And then there's these nice little options up here at the top, which I don't believe World of Warcraft really did. I think they had like a little section on the bottom right of the screen, but I'm pretty sure, like I said, this is not for people that have. This is for people that have not played an MMO before. So go ahead, click on equipment, and you're going to be brought to this little guy over here on the bottom left. Same as all these, they'll bring up that on the bottom left here, and you'll be able to read what kind of equipment your guy's going to be able to wear. What kind of abilities he's going to be able to use, the advanced classes. I know this is going to be a lot of information you're going to be thrown into. Generally, I recommend just read the combat role. That's probably going to interest you the most, as well as the story. Like, what kind of story do you guys want to play? Generally, I recommend to anyone that is playing an MMORPG such as this for the very first time, pick a class that you think is cool. If you're a Star Wars fan, this is even better for you. Say you picked like a role-playing server, pick the class that you think is what you want to be. Like, oh, I've always wanted to be a guy that can shoot lightning out of my hand, so maybe you'll want to be a Jedi Counselor, because the Jedi Counselor are allowed to do that. They're very strong with the Force. They know exactly everything they need to do. With the Force, they also get a lightsaber. They get the dual-handed lightsaber as well. And yes, there is the other side, which has the, I think it's the Sith Inquisitor for the Sith Empire. So pick the class that you guys feel like you want to be. There is no reason you have to be a Jedi Knight if you do not want to be a Jedi Knight. Say you want just to be Han Solo. Well, go ahead and pick the Smuggler class. Hell, it's all based off the story you want, and that's exactly what I'm saying. Click on story here, read up on all that, learn about exactly what character you want to play, and then later on, once you get used to that character and you say you want to try something else, go ahead and start a new character. But the first character you want to pick, generally just customize it to the way you want it to be. So let me just touch on all these characters real quick, and then we'll go over to the Sith Empire side, and I think we'll wrap up the tutorial then. And then in the next video, of course, like I said, we'll get into each individual class when they start out and how to play the game as well, which would be very, very cool. I believe I'll put annotations on the end of the video or during the whole video for you guys to check out as well. Okay, so the Jedi Knight is mainly a melee class, of course. They do have a decent touch to the Force, but mainly they're just, I want to get up there and, you know, hack and slash as much as possible. So a very Luke Skywalker kind of person. They are not super in touch with the Force, but yeah, they are very good at melee combat, and they can also wear heavy armor later on, or you can have dual wielding of lightsabers, so you can even have 2 different colored lightsabers later on. So if you're interested in that, that's definitely the class for you. Make sure you check out the advanced classes. They actually give you a little bit of touching. You can even ignore the stuff at the top. You can just read the stuff at the bottom and be like, oh, that's what I could be when I'm level 10 or something like that. You know, just look into some things that are kind of cool just to touch on and see what you want to check out. And then there's the Jedi Counselor. So I touched on this before. They're very in touch with the Force. They're mainly not going to be a melee character, but they can be. They have a choice of either being a healer / DPS character. DPS stands for damage per second. They can do a lot of damage from far away as well. They can also be called like a Jedi Shadow over here, which does a lot more Force-based power. And the name Tank means that they are mainly someone that will take a lot more damage than normal. But they do wear light armor, so you definitely will have to be careful over time. Because light armor will make it so you get a little bit damaged a little bit more. So you have to be a little bit more careful than say being a heavy armored Jedi Knight. And then we're going to go over to the Smuggler. Obviously, like I said, much like Han Solo, it's the main reason why they made this class is because of Han Solo. And what they get to use is either 2 blasters or a blaster pistol and a scattered gun, depending on what you choose, if you want to be a gunslinger or a scoundrel. Now, a scoundrel will be able to go invisible and sneak around his foes, be a little bit more tricky, where a gunslinger is just, I want to shoot you and do a whole bunch of damage as fast as possible. But a scoundrel will also have the ability to heal other people as well. So if you want to be a healer scoundrel or a healer smuggler anyway, go ahead and pick the Smuggler. They have a really good storyline as well. But all the classes have amazing storylines. Don't worry about what story you're going to get. You're going to get the one based off kind of like how the movies did it, but in your own kind of way. And then you have, last but not least, for the Republic side of things, is the Trooper. So kind of like the clone troopers from Episode 2 of the Star Wars series, but obviously they're not clones. They're different races and people. These are the people that existed in the Republic before you know, they kind of withered away and started separating and all of that. So yeah, this is the heavy guys, the guys that like to shoot things. You know, you're staying a little bit far back, but you still have that armor, and you're able to defend yourself. If you go Commando or Vanguard, you're still going to be able to have heavy armor. But if you go Commando, you're going to have an assault cannon. But if you go Vanguard, you're going to have a blaster rifle. So they have like a little bit more of that range in certain kinds of combat. And also keep in mind that the Commando is also a healer race, healer class, and the Vanguard is the same kind of like thing as a Counselor. They're more of that tanky kind of person, and they're more of the damaging kind of person. So we're going to click on back here, not exit. We're going to click on back, and it'll say all customizations will be lost. Yeah, whatever. And then we're going to go to the Sith Empire side. Now I'll just touch on all these characters here. They're generally kind of the same, but like I said, they have one class that's not based off anything in the movies, so you'll probably want to hear about that in just a moment. So we have the Sith Warrior here. I don't know why I got some sort of weird accent going on there. We have the Sith Warrior, and basically it's the opposite side of a Jedi Knight. They don't follow any sort of code. They just are someone that is in touch with the Force. They want to do bad things, and generally they'll do whatever they want. They are a Sith Warrior. They have no specific code, but they will follow like a Darth something, like a Darth Maul or something like that. Obviously Darth Maul doesn't exist at this time and age, but it's just an example. They'll follow someone that is stronger than them until they are Darth, whatever your name is. And then we got the Sith Inquisitor, much like the Jedi Counselor, and they follow the role of an Inquisitor. If you've ever played, or if you've ever heard of like the Dawn of War series or something like that, that's kind of the same way as what an Inquisitor is. They are the kind of person that make those decisions that either someone should live or die kind of thing. So if you like being that kind of evil kind of person that makes a decision of, oh, that person should die by this method, or that person should live and but be tortured until something comes out of them, right? So if you like that kind of thing, but just the opposite of, you know, be the dark side of the counselor, then be the Inquisitor, if you're interested in that. And yes, they have the Force lightning like Darth Vader and Darth Vader's master or whatever. So yeah, that's just very, very cool. That's how that's working. And then anyone that's a fan of Boba Fett or Jabba Fett or Jabba Fett, I don't know. I think it was it's like Jabba Fett was part of episodes 1 and 2, and then Boba Fett was part of episodes 4, 5, and 6, or 6. Whatever, we're not going to worry about that. But yeah, if you want to be a bounty hunter, these guys are definitely very cool. We'll go to the advanced classes here. They have the ability to heal other people if they're a mercenary, or if they're a power tech kind of person. They go for broke. They are a heavy armored unit, so they're going to be able to take a lot of damage. Of course, like in the movies, they are able to take a lot of punishment. I mean, if you've ever seen episode 2, I know I keep relating back to that one because I just watched it today. But yeah, like Jabba Fett or whatever, I know I'm getting his name wrong, but he got like trampled by a guy and he was fine. So don't worry, like a bounty hunter will be able to take on a Jedi. I mean, this is 3,000 years before, I mean, you know, Yoda and stuff like that, when Jedi are like so tiny in numbers that they aren't all able to like learn how to be, you know, masters of the Force and everything like that. So it makes sense how a bounty hunter will be able to use trickery and special abilities to be able to take on, say, a Jedi warrior in some sort of way like that. And then, last but not least, the character that I am pretty excited about is the Imperial Agent. Now, these guys have no backstory to how the movies did things. They do kind of look like starship pilots in a way, but they're not. These guys are specific to how this game was made, and I think they're very, very cool. They are kind of related to how the smuggler is, obviously, but in no way are they smugglers. These guys are hardcore assassins. If you look over here, there's a sniper class to get the sniper rifle, and a super powerful knife that does a ton of damage for like back attacks and stuff like that. Back attacks generally for this kind of character will do more damage. And then we have obviously the operative, which will do healing and stuff like that. So definitely very cool. And both sides wear medium armor, so they're kind of the middle between a tank and a DPS kind of character. Again, damage per second. So just a couple things that I forgot to touch on during the tutorial video. Luckily I was able to catch some and put them right into the same video, so you guys don't have to go anywhere and try and locate it. So that was the preferences button that I mentioned at the beginning of the video and actually never touched on it. So here it is now. So we're going to click on the preferences button. You can only get here in the main menu, the select server menu. So if say, let's pretend that we went to a world, and you're like in character creation, whatever. So I'll get that in a moment. And you're like here, because I'm pretty sure this is where I'm going to stick it in the video. So yeah, you're around here and you're like, oh, well, that's not on the other side. Just click on back and say yes to all customizations will be lost. Click exit, and you'll be brought to a loading screen. You'll go to your server. Selection screen, and you want to click on preferences. There's also a customer service help center down here and a credits thing for all the people that worked on the game, but what you want to click on right here is preferences, and you can adjust your sound. So basically you can enable and disable sound. I right now have my master volume set to 30% so you guys can actually hear me. But yeah, you can like change all this different stuff for sound, but generally what you want to change specifically, just to make sure you know your computer can run it, is you want to go to graphics and choose exactly what you want. Now I'm recording in 720p, but the game does go up to 1920 by 1080p. That generally is most monitors nowadays, which makes sense. And then there's the graphics quality preset. What this is, it will preset the game to medium graphics, high graphics, and low graphics. You generally don't need a super powerful computer to play the game, but a generally decent computer will be able to play it on at least medium or high graphics. I know I have a pretty good computer, so I'm able to actually encode things quite well. But don't worry about encoding, whatever. That's all stuff I need to worry about, not you guys. Other things you guys can edit. You can edit the bloom. If you want to make it so if the game's lagging and everything, make sure you take out the bloom. And the conversation depth of field, that generally won't change too much. But if it is, lagging the game a lot, turn that off. And then next you want to go into texture quality. You can select these. Generally, they're all between high, medium, and low. Shader complexity, though, is the biggest one. If you change this one to low, it'll change the graphics almost completely for your game. So generally, this is the difference between if you're going to play the game in low quality or high quality. So definitely pay attention to that. And there's character level of detail. How much detail do you want on your characters? Obviously, you probably want high. But if your computer's not running it very well, same thing, turn it to low. Texture anisotropy. This is how many times the textures are basically repopulated and stuff like that, so it has more smoother edges. This basically just makes it so it looks a lot better and stuff like that. But generally, this could lag your computer quite a bit, so make sure you're paying attention to that. And last but not least is the shadow quality. If you want shadows, generally the first thing you actually want to turn off is the shadows, because those actually remarkably take up a lot of space. So if you're lagging, I'd recommend just turn the shadows off. It does make the game look a little bit less realistic, but hey, I mean, if you want a smooth 60 frames per second experience, which is generally what you'll need if you want to play the game to its fullest extent, you'll probably want to turn the shadows off. It's probably the first thing, because it takes away the least, but it does take away quite a bit still. So it's just something I recommend, but that's preferences. Another thing I forgot to touch on is after you choose your class, you're going to want to select your race. So when you say you're going to pick Jedi Knight, and this is the same for every other race, so you click on Jedi Knight and then click on Next. And then you have a choice of picking what race you want to be. So all the race things are up here for you to go check out. Social ability, don't worry about that too much. Like I said before, pick the race that you pick the race and class that you think will suit you the best. But all the races have their own racial talents. As you can see, social ability has its own talents and all that stuff like that. So you can check out all the different races. Make sure you choose the one you like. Read up on them, learn their their backstory and everything like that. Generally, there's not too much here, but there's always Wikipedia you can go check out. And there's probably a lot of Star Wars fan bases out there that explain exactly what you need to know when you're picking your race. But generally, the race only depends on how you feel about them and what they're like. It generally won't change too much about your story. I believe mostly, if you're a Jedi Knight, you probably won't have to worry about any racial kind of things going on in the game. I know in the original BioWare games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, if you're like say an elf in Dragon Age, a lot of humans don't like you too much, just for the simple fact that you're an elf. But I don't think you're gonna have to worry about too much of that in Star Wars with other characters hugging your character, right? So most characters are respected generally by their class, by other in-game characters, but I believe it's, actual people probably won't care at all what race your character is. They'd probably think it's cool that you picked, say, like a Miraluka race, which is a pretty cool race. It's a race that has no eyes, so that's definitely very, very cool. So say we pick human, we're going to click on next. So we picked our class and our race, and then we pick our gender. Let's go male for this kind of choice here. And then you have all these options here on the right here. You may be a little bit confused as to what you're supposed to do, but don't worry. There's just a whole bunch of sliders that determine what your character will look like. So if we use the middle mouse button, we can zoom in and out from our character. And if you click on the left, like this button here, you'll go left on the slider. And as you can see, his character body type changed. If you left click on your character and drag your mouse away from him, you'll actually spin around in a circle. Well, getting a little bit dizzy there, but yeah, so that's pretty cool. And there's 4 different body types currently right now. There may be more in the future, so if you're watching this like maybe a few months in the future and there's an expansion out and they added some new body types, then there's probably more. But this is basically how you navigate this little screen here. And yes, there's 4. There's the taller guy, the shorter guy, the taller than the tallish guy with a little bit more buff, and then the other guy is like fattish, I would say. Yeah, pretty kind of hefty, muscular, buff, fat, Jedi that doesn't look like he should be a Jedi, but yeah, whatever. It's all personal preference as to how you want to play the game. We'll zoom back in, because the rest of it's going to be basically your face and how it looks. Different kinds of heads that you can choose from. There's scarring that you can choose, like say you want to have like a scar from Final Fantasy VIII across your face. Don't worry if you've never played Final Fantasy VIII before, that's just for the fans that know who Squall is. There's also complexion. It's going to choose like what your face looks like. So yeah, like kind of like a, I don't know, a musky kind of beard with I don't know, maybe it looks like he's been in the desert for a long time. We don't know. Eye color, of course. You can change the color of his eyes. You can change his beard. Now these are full beards. These are not the like shaved beards. If you want that, you want to scroll through complexion until you find the right thing. As you can see, some of them have a little bit darker, you know, shades there. So if you want that 5 o'clock shadow, you want to go through complexion and find the right one for you. So yeah, we got our beards there. That looks delightful. And then we have our hair. Make sure you're looking around. Make sure you got the right hair that you want for your character. Yeah, that looks beautiful for now. And then we have the hair color, so you can go check that out. And what I'm doing is I'm clicking on the little dot here, and you can actually move it around, move the slider around. So I'd say we go for the red, because that's just delightful. And of course our skin color. You know, pick whatever you feel is best for your character. Make the character that you feel would be a character that you'd play. You know, be the person you want to be. And of course, if you want to be this guy, you can actually copy all these numbers on the right here to get the exact same character that I have currently right now. And I know doesn't he just look delightful, like the best looking character of all time in the game. And then the last thing you can pick is your name, so you can type whatever you want in there, or you can also randomize it by clicking the random button. Generally, I believe it tries to pick names that no one's picked before, and then when you're done, click play. And when you click play, that's when you switch to my next video and go and check out how to play the game and add some new things into it that will make your gameplay experience a lot easier and a lot more understandable while you play through it. So yeah, on with the rest of the video. So I'm gonna stop the video here for now. Let you guys, you know, choose what kind of race you want to be. Over time, I'm going to be making videos for each and every beginning character, but for the next video that I encourage you all to check out, because that's when I think a lot of you are going to have issues, trying to learn how to play the game, is when you actually get into the game and have almost no idea what you are doing, what choices you're making, and I'm going to make your experience from being extremely overwhelmed to something that is going to turn into it's like, oh, I already know how to get through this now, and it's not going to be any problem at all. And you're going to come back to these tutorials and be like, oh, I can't believe I had to check out these tutorials, because it's just so easy to get into the game. So I'm Akabane101. I hope you guys subscribe to my channel. Comment as to what you want to see as soon as possible, and I'll get out that certain class. Basically, so say you want me to do like a Sith Warrior introduction, or a Sith Inquisitor, whatever, even the Republic side. Let me know in the chat, and I'll get to that one as soon as possible. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.